What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 38, The Edge of Extinction, Episode 7, the Merge episode. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and we have a lot to say about this episode because there's a lot of things that we would have liked to see that we didn't get to see. So that makes us a little bit angry. But we're going to start by talking about the beginning of the episode because that's where you start, I guess, when you do things. Woohoo!
Yeah. So, overall, the episode, I'm like, Joe going home, I thought it was a really, really weird episode. Maybe it was just because there was so much packed in with the Edge of Extinction challenge and then an immunity challenge. And then you have the merge feast and you're hearing like everyone's thought processes. But it just seemed like weird because there was no last time on Survivor. I watched the episode over spring break with my friends and I was like, "Oh, this is really weird," because I wanted to show them last time on Survivor so they actually had some context about what was happening. None of that. So they went in blind. And then there was also no reasoning for Wendy and Keith really leaving Edge of Extinction. So I'm sort of like, I don't know what was happening with this episode.
Yeah, I also was like, I thought that I missed a part of like the episode because I like clicked the play button because I was watching it after after it premiered because school is crazy. But so I was watching it and I clicked the play button and I was like, did I just miss like 3 minutes of the episode? So yeah, I was a little shook by the jarringness of the beginning of the episode just because it also like I feel like the previously on Survivor thing also kind of gives you context for what's going to be important going forward in the game. Like it would have been nice to have some like cuts of everyone being like, oh yeah, Joe's a threat, Joe's a threat, so that we were kind of like prepared for the fact that he was gonna be voted out. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think the problem with this season is that, like, I honestly don't really care about half of the players that are left, besides maybe the people that we see a lot of. So, like, the original Blue Tribe. So, Kelly, David, Lauren, War Dog, maybe you throw in there. But, like, all the people on original comma, like, literally got zero screen time before the merge. Half the people are just, like, duds now. And I feel like I really don't want to listen to them. So, even when, like, Julie was getting a lot of confessionals this episode, I was like, why do I care? Like, she does not seem like that important player this season. And then I'm like, all the returnee players are being voted out. It's just so meh because I really don't care for listening to Julie talk.
yeah, I thought it was really weird how Julie suddenly got like a lot of praise this episode because they were talking about how buff she was during the challenge, and then she was like, "It's immoral to vote Devins out and send him back to Extinction Island," and I'm like, "It's not a morality issue. This is Survivor. You have to vote people out." So that was eh.
Yeah.
I really don't like Julie either. So
And it's like we really don't know anything about any of these people. Like Julie got 6 confessionals this episode. She was the person who got the most number of confessionals this episode, and now she's ranked 5 for the number of confessionals of the people still left in the merge of this season. My weird thing is Joe literally got 0 confessionals on the episode that he was being voted out for. Kelly got 4, Rick got 8, which makes sense that Rick got a lot because of the whole Edge of Extinction and the idol like thing that was happening. But like Joe getting 0 as a returning player and it's his boot episode, I'm like, what the hell is this whack editing? Give him at least 1. And then half the people on this tribe of the merge still have 0. And then, like, everyone else got at least 1 of the people who are on Edge of Extinction. I'm just really confused. So Kelly and Rick are tied for first for number of confessionals with 23. And then you go David, War Dog, Julia, Victoria, Lauren with 17, 14, 13, 13, 10. And then it like drops down. So it's like, All of the original Yellow Tribe are people who have gotten 2 to 7 confessionals this entire season. I'm like, you all look the same.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because even though Julie got all those confessionals, I still cannot tell you anything about her. Like, she has kids. That's all I know. And I think that it's like if someone is giving you that many confessionals, you should at least be like feeling like you know more about them. And I'm not sure whether I just wasn't paying enough attention because I don't care for her, or if it's like she legit just gives the like confessionals that are necessary to like explain strategy to casual fans but aren't like super like big or important. I don't know, just because I feel like I don't know anything about Julie. I don't know anything about the Yellow Tribe. The only one that seems that I can be like, yeah, I remember her talking about things is Victoria. So,
But yeah, like Julie, if we didn't do a cast assessment, if we didn't research people pre-game, like I don't even remember Julie's job now from this. I remember Victoria as a waitress or whatever, but like what else does Victoria do? Not really sure. We know Ron is like the school teacher thing, and it was like, did he even say that on camera ever? Like, at least War Dog, we know he's an ex-military now turned law student. Rick, we know he's like a TV broadcaster, news person, whatever. And it's like all the other people, I'm like, okay, what the hell does Aurora do? Julia, we know she's a medical student, but like Gavin, Eric, they sort of get me confused. Besides, one has a country accent and the other doesn't, but they sort of look similar. And I'm like, which one's on my screen now?
yeah, they showed like Gavin's little like tag and they said that he was like a YMCA director. And I was like, I did pre show stuff and I still could not remember what his job was. Like, I saw that he was a YMCA director and I was legitimately shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, what's happening? So, mm,
So yeah, honestly, I don't know. The episode was just sort of boring. It should have been an interesting merge episode. You would think when Joe Anglim goes home, first episode of the merge, his first tribal council this season, it would be an exciting episode, but maybe because they jam-packed it, maybe because we had so much time of useless people talking and no talk from Joe or anything like that, that just became a sort of bad episode. The only cool thing, we had the Edge of Extinction battle. I thought it was really cool seeing everyone's reactions when Jeff was like, "Oh, iconic things happening," and they were like, "Oh my god, everyone's coming back," and then it's like, "Ha." But it was a cool challenge. I think it was cool to see everyone competing and then one person making it back into the game. Keith used his disadvantage on Chris, so like LMAO, who did not see that coming. But it really didn't slow Chris down because Chris still beat Keith to the final stage. And it was a really, really close challenge. So I thought that was the cool part. It was like anxiety inducing. Every other part of the episode, I'm like, who cares what's happening?
yeah, I also thought that they spent so much time on like the Edge of Extinction stuff, and that's hard to do with the merge episode because then it's like you have to balance everyone talking about the merge with everyone talking about Edge of Extinction, and it's like I was happy to see the Edge of Extinction challenge, but then they had so much talking about how like everyone was so disappointed they didn't get back in the game, only for Jeff to be like, "Guess what? You get to try again." And I was like I get why it's necessary, but also I think that they could have used that time a little bit better. Like, even just to give Joe one confessional would have taken away from Reem being like, I watched the show with my kids or whatever, because it's like, no one cares about Reem that much. So,
Yeah, like after Rick won the challenge, woohoo, Rick, that's what we said last week in our podcast. I'm like, the two people who were in the preview at the reunion show last season cannot be voted out pre-merge. Happy Rick won. I was glad. He's good TV, good at confessionals, and he's actually playing the game over like Reem or Chris getting back into the game. Last week, like we said, also would have also been fine with Aubrey getting back into the game too. But yeah, after they lost, I'm like, they literally gave every single one of these people a talking thing about, like you said, how sad they are of not getting back into the game. And I'm like, even in the family visit, like some people don't even get to talk, and you're literally giving everyone a talking time on TV for this. I'm like, just pick Aubrey and one other person, you're fine. I really don't need to hear Chris and everyone else cry about losing the challenge, because you probably weren't going to win the challenge anyways. No offense.
Yeah, I think it's bad to give everyone on Extinction Island so much time, because it's like only 2 of them will ever get back into the game. And so, yeah, you should use that time on players that are still in the game, so that when they do get voted out and go to Extinction Island, we actually care about them. Like,
No.
I feel like there's some people I started caring about more after they got voted out, and that's not how it should be.
Yeah, literally, Chris has 8 confessionals, and that's the same as Eric. And Chris has more confessionals on Extinction Island than Ron, Gavin, Julia, and Aurora. Everyone else on Extinction are above 16 confessionals. Everyone below, Lauren has 10, Victoria has 13. Everyone below that, like, people on a fucking Extinction Island get more confessionals than people on the show. And it's like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah. I think, like, I really understand why they're doing it, but I also disagree with them doing it. So that's
Yeah. I guess everyone crying after the Extinction battle, yeah, really puts into perspective, what they're going through. Good for them. Hoo-ha. It was interesting because it's like it really shows you, sort of what they're going through. They're happy they weren't going home. I feel like you really just needed Aubrey talking about how she loves the game so much. She was crying about it. I feel like because of that, maybe Aubrey can go all the way. I definitely see that she does have a fire under her butt to go and make it all the way, and she's fine at challenges. So I think with Joe there too, it makes it a little more tricky, but I think all you needed was Aubrey talking. Everyone else is sort of irrelevant. You don't give Reem talking time.
Yeah. I really think that, like, the way they're framing Aubrey, like, the way they've framed Aubrey so far makes me think like she's going to be the second person to like get back into the game, just because she's talked so much about how like the only thing she hasn't done in Survivor is win, and how Survivor means so much for her, and like Survivor was what made her grow up. And I feel like if you look at the edit, it's so bad to have her saying all these things and then like not being able to cash on them.
Yeah, so I mean, with Keith and Wendy leaving, I guess I'm not surprised, but like I wish we knew why rather than have them talk about their game for like the 10-15 seconds that they had some confessional for. Surprised that Reem didn't quit. I honestly thought that maybe she would be, if people quit, she would be one of the people that quitted, but apparently not. But I feel like, yeah, after a certain point, if you're on Extinction Island, you're on day 19 right now. So you're literally halfway through the game to day 39. Probably once you hit like day 25, there's no way you can freaking like pull the flag for Extinction when you only have 15 days left. I think after a certain point, yeah, in the next few episodes, you shouldn't quit anymore. So it's either now or never when you're already halfway through the season.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like Reem, not Reen. Reem didn't quit, but we also didn't hear anything from the people that did quit, because it's like Keith and Wendy apparently both quit, and I again thought that I had missed something because like they're like, oh, the jury members, blah 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 blah, and like Keith and Wendy weren't there, and I was like, huh? So
Yeah, so the merge happens. People are saying that Rick Devens would be an easy vote out. Or Kelly and Lauren say that Rick is going to be an easy vote out because it's like a scapegoat. No one would get angry with it. I mean, their logic makes sense, I feel like, since they're scared of him, since maybe he's angry that they voted him out and he wants to get revenge. Like, logically, that makes sense for Kelly and Lauren. and War Dog if he was in on that plan, but War Dog got 0 confessionals this episode. Not complaining about that, but logically, for the other tribe of the old comma, it really doesn't make sense to vote Rick out because you've never met Rick. He was not on your tribe through the entire pre-merge portion. Why would you vote someone out who, like, you don't necessarily know? Like, sure, it's a easy scapegoat, but if you have the majority and you know it when it is like what 9-4 to make 13, it doesn't make any sense to vote Devins. Like, from where Kelly and Lauren are coming from makes sense. You don't want to target one of the old yellow because then they'll be pissed off at you, so pick Devins. But if you're old yellow, it makes no sense to vote out the person you don't know because you can use them for a vote.
Yeah, I think it was interesting though, because like I said earlier, when we were talking about Julie was like, it's immoral to vote out Rick again. And I just like, if you don't want to vote out Rick, that's fine. But like, morality shouldn't be coming into this, I don't think. And I think it's like, I'm not sure why people would want Devins out when Yellow has the majority, because it's like, you don't want to vote out someone who could be on your side when you don't have the majority. And I think that like the Yellow Tribe voting out someone like one of their own, I think that's going to be really interesting because Ron said like they have the comma 6, and I'm like, okay, 6 might not stay the majority, especially if there's like a swinger. So it just seems like poor planning on the part of like literally everyone. Like everyone who could have screwed up this vote tried to screw up this vote in some way, I think.
So. Yeah, because I mean, the Joe vote makes sense. Like, yes, he's a challenge beast. Yes, he lost the first challenge. But then I'm thinking, like we said in last week's podcast, the whole voting Joe out right now, he hasn't necessarily gone on an immunity run. We've seen previously that he loses sometimes. We've seen previously that he doesn't necessarily strategize that much, kind of thing. So it's like everyone is so scared of him, and maybe that's because he is a returning player that he can't shake that stigma about his game. But then it's also like, you know, the past has proven that he can't make it to the end of the game, which I think I just wanted to see Joe play the game more. I think that's why I'm bummed that he was voted out this episode. And it's like, yeah, like you're saying, okay, you have the original comma. It makes sense to vote Joe if you don't think he's with you. And Joe has said that he doesn't trust any of the people besides Aurora. Makes sense you vote one of your own out. But I don't know. First vote of the merge, though, going in on yourself. Maybe it's because they've never gone to tribal before the merge, kind of thing. But yeah, like you're saying, if you keep letting the old blue tribe swing by like this, they're going to have the majority after some point in another. But it seems right now that it is very, very fractured with how the votes fell this episode, that maybe the comma 6 are fine. But yeah, first boot of the merge if you already like ingest yourself. But we already see that Joe didn't vote with the 6 original comma, so you already know he's like not on board. So maybe it was smart of them to vote him out this episode.
I think it's interesting too because we've talked before about how like if you're not on the right side of the numbers of the merge, it's very difficult for you to win. But then, like most of the people who voted for Joe this episode, I feel like are not good winner contenders because Eric, Gavin, Julia, Julie, Ron, and Victoria were the ones who voted for Joe. And like, I would say Eric, Gavin, Julia, Julie, just on the basis of like confessional count. Well, maybe not Julie, but Eric, Gavin, and Julia, it's just like we've never seen them. So there's no way they're going to win just because it would be like pulling someone out of nowhere. And it's like Victoria maybe could win, but I feel like the strongest winner contenders at this moment are not people who voted for Joe this episode. So I wonder if this is going to break the pattern of people who voted right at the merge vote then going on to win the game.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It was interesting to see also like Joe and Kelly reunite. And it's like, okay, they're probably going to work together. And that I wanted to see that work out kind of thing. Kelly and Lauren go with the 6 girls. And then Lauren says that the safe vote is Rick. Julie is not down. Aurora is down. So we see that split in the numbers, but we don't really hear from anyone else on that point. After the immunity challenge, Ron, tell me why Ron is so sassy this episode. He literally he rolled his eyes so much that they're gonna permanently be pushed back into his head because he keeps rolling them. I'm like, chill out, dude. And then he says yellow in the weirdest way. He's like, yellow. I'm like, what are you saying?
Yeah, just.
But yeah, with Ron wants to vote Joe. I thought Joe would be safe after losing the first immunity challenge. It didn't really seem like he had a target on his back. And I don't know, usually once he's on a roll, then he gets voted out. So after he's won multiple challenges. But yeah, like I said, I think it's interesting because he is a returning player. He has a target on his back, so people know he's good at challenges, and that's why he voted him out. But I was really surprised Joe didn't win that challenge and Julie wins. But the challenge was also boring because you really can't have fun immunity challenges when there's 13 people in the game because you can't make that many stations.
Yeah, I think this is one of those tried and true ones where it's a good challenge. I was also surprised that Joe dropped so early. Watching him in the immunity challenge, it's like there's no reason that he should have dropped when he did. So I kind of feel bad for him, but also, do I?
I mean, I would have, like I said last week, I would have loved to see Joe play the individual portion of the game. I want to see Joe strategize. And they all hear about the Edge of Extinction twist, and they still send Joe to the Edge of Extinction, knowing that these people are going to have a second chance to get back into the game or multiple chances to get back into the game. And it's like, you know how good Joe is at challenges. Now you're sending him for the fun, not necessarily fun, but vacation time where you don't have to strategize at all. You make really good connections with the people on Extinction Island, and you just get to hang out all day, and you don't have to have the constant mind-bogglingness of strategizing. So, Joe's going to come back better than ever, and I hope Joe wins the second or third, whatever, how many number challenges there are, and then whoops their butts.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though because they also know that people can be given disadvantages for the Extinction Island thing. And I feel like everyone is like, oh yeah, if there's a disadvantage to be given, they'll totally give it to Joe just because, everyone is like, Joe's a challenge beast. So, yeah.
Yeah. So tribal council, I really thought that the votes would fall on Kelly. I think she would be the more logical option this episode because yeah, she's in the minority, vote her off, don't give the minority any steam to pass by kind of thing. Versus Joe, who is technically in your potential strong, even though he didn't vote the way you maybe thought he was going to vote. But yeah, I thought they would vote someone off of old I would think they would put votes on Kelly. Kelly would play her idol, and then old blue would put the votes on someone from old yellow. But then I'm like, who cares if we see Aurora or not? She wouldn't be targeted. Julia go home. We don't know her. So I'm like, then it would have been an even worse episode. It's like a Kelly. Yeah, I don't know. The votes, I would have thought that you would vote Kelly over Joe because Kelly's more strategic and she's athletic versus Joe is seemingly just more athletic. I don't know. The whole Extinction Island thing, I don't know why you would want to send Joe there to go hang out until day 38. I think the real issue with the tribal council is that Kelly's alliance was bamboozled again, and Kelly thought they had the majority probably, and then ended up not having the majority, and then Joe goes home. she's probably happy she wasn't the one targeted, but it was 2 votes Devins, 3 votes David, 2 votes Kelly, 6 votes Joe. I don't think you can be happy with that tribal council turnout if you're part of the old blue tribe.
Yeah, I think the main thing is the old blue tribe between them now has 3 idols because they have Lauren's, Kelly's, and then the like half and half Rick David one. And it's like, if y'all can like stop trying to target each other for a hot sec, you could like decimate the yellow tribe and then take care of your shit when you've like got a solid majority. So
Yeah,
I'm a little just like old blue could do so much, but they don't realize how much they could do just because, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. David and Devins voted Kelly. I think it'd be interesting to know if the original comma told them to vote Kelly as a test of loyalty. And then we see Aurora and Joe, and then War Dog Kelly Lauren vote for David and Devin split vote. I think maybe it's the returning players coming in so overconfident that they think they can just boss around all the newbie players. Like, okay, this is the plan. You all are going to listen. And then we still see all three all three of the returning players left in the game still vote on the wrong side of the numbers, and the 6 original newbies come together and they're able to vote Joe off the island. I bet Steven Fishback is literally quaking in his in his seat. But yeah, I just think I'm just confused. How are they always on the wrong side of the numbers they've played before, and yet they still can't get the person they want to go home?
Yeah, because it's like literally all 3 of the returning players did not get the person they wanted to go home. I think part of that is like as Survivor goes on, the returning player or the newbies are less and less likely to submit to the will of the returning players. But yeah, I think it's interesting because Kelly's had her name come up in so many tribal councils. So
Yeah,
that doesn't bode well for her.
maybe an idol play next week after they realize that they're not in the majority or clicking as well as they might think they are. The David Devins immunity idol, I'm like, is the show just giving out random advantages now in people's bags? I mean, like, it makes sense that you give the person who comes back from Extinction some kind of advantage. Otherwise, they're potentially an easy vote back out, seen in like Big Brother, or with Matt being vote out of Boston Rob's season for the second time after he just came back. But I think if you're a good player, I think you can finagle your way and strategize your way so that you aren't voted out on the first time you're back on the island. But maybe that's just me. I think, I don't know, giving people these bag idols is sort of stupid, I think.
I mean, it's also theoretically something that someone on Extinction like found an advantage and was like, give your advantage to someone in the game. And they were like, okay, I'll give it to Rick since he just got back. But we didn't see that because we didn't see like anything from Extinction. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be explained next episode. So
Yeah, so now Rick and David have a full idol. I think it's an interesting concept since usually you want to keep the whole idol thing secret, less people that know the better. But with this idol, you need to share it with someone you trust. You can't really do the way where, like, oh, you share it with maybe an acquaintance or someone you less know. So you can have a bargaining chip because with this kind of thing, now you want to keep it close to hand, and it's becoming a full idol next week. But I don't know, the whole thing is sort of whack. I think the producers better not hide a 4th idol on the island somewhere because it is the merge beast. I just feel like it would have been a better advantage if Devins found like maybe was given like a chance to win an idol, sort of like how Chris did or Ron with his advantage menu earlier this season. So Chris from Ghost Island with like the urns where it can technically you play a game and you can extend the life. That would have been more interesting because it's more risky versus like, oh, you have half an idol, tell someone, and now you have a full idol. It's just like, let me give out free advantages now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like what War Dog said at Tribal Council. Like everyone's like, are there even idols in the game? Until you get like 6 idols played at once. So it's like if there is a hidden idol on the merged beach now, it's like 4 different people have idols. That would be very, very messy. So
Yeah, so Joe gets voted out of this episode. Honestly, I feel like sort of out of the blue. It really did not make sense, especially because he did not get any confessionals this episode. So I don't know. I guess we'll see next week what happens. A potential idol play from Kelly or Lauren, because it seems like they will still be on the chopping block. And then we will see someone from Old Yellow go home, or maybe they'll target Devins or David. I don't know. Everyone on Old Yellow is sort of a dud because we don't really know that much about them. Maybe pre-merge we should have saw more from the people not going to Tribal Council, so we cared about the people this season. But let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Were you happy or sad that Joe got voted off? What did you think of the editing this episode? Because I think that's where Alyssa and I find a lot of the problems this episode.
I think another thing that's important to mention about next episode is that it looks like someone is possibly going to be fainting during the immunity challenge, which could also screw things up numbers wise if someone does get medevaced. So that's another thing that like you guys should be watching out for. What do you guys think is going to happen with that? Just because I would really hate to see someone screwed over because of a medevac, but I don't know. Do you think that medevacs would then be able to go to Extinction Island after they got their like medical situation taken care of?
Oh, not if they get food and housing. Maybe Ron rolled his eyes so far back that they popped out of his head.
Maybe. Or we could see another like we could see one of the like big guys fainting a la Joe in Second Chances. Just because it's like if you stand in an endurance challenge for a long time, you could like faint or whatever. So
Maybe Ron danced too hard that he broke his leg.
yeah. But so it'll be interesting because sometimes they show that kind of thing and it's like not a serious medevac, but then sometimes they show it and it's like, yeah, someone's like fucking dying. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for watching. We will see you all next week with hopefully a more interesting, better episode of Survivor to talk about.
Okay, bye guys.